You ever feel like you're trapped by fear? Like it's this thing you have to constantly fight against, something you have to conquer? Well, today we're going to look at a completely different way of seeing it. This comes from the work of Dr. David Hawkins, and it reframes fear not as some enemy to be defeated, but actually as a gateway to understanding ourselves on a much deeper level.
In this quote, this really is the core idea of our whole explainer. So let's just jump right in. What Hawkins is saying here is that fear isn't just a feeling we get in response to the world. No, it's the very filter that colors everything we see. It's kind of like putting on a pair of really dark sunglasses. The world itself hasn't changed one bit, but your entire experience of it is completely different.
Okay, so if fear is a filter, what decides which filter we're looking through? Well, to get that, we have to understand the absolute foundation of all of Hawkins' work. And it's this: our state of consciousness is the starting point for everything else we experience.
So who was David Hawkins? Well, he was a psychiatrist, a researcher, and after a series of really profound personal experiences, he became a spiritual teacher. He basically came to believe that our suffering isn't caused by what happens to us, but by our internal state, our level of consciousness. And he developed this simple but incredibly powerful practice to shift that state, a practice he called letting go. This idea right here really brings it home. Just imagine you're walking down the street and you're in a state of anger. You might see every other person as a potential threat, every car as a personal obstacle. Now, what if you're in a state of peace, walking down that same exact street? You'd probably see the beauty in the buildings, maybe the kindness in people's faces. See, the world hasn't changed at all, but your experience of it has, completely.
All right, now that we have that foundation, let's zoom right in on the state that so many of us get stuck in: fear. How does Hawkins' model help us understand this powerful state of being and maybe even work with it differently?
So this gives us a much more detailed look at how fear actually operates. See, Hawkins created what he called a map of consciousness, which is basically a scale that measures different levels of human experience. And on this map, fear calibrates at a level of 100. And when we're operating from that level, our entire perception is organized around threat. The world doesn't just feel dangerous. To us, in that state, it is dangerous.
So, how does fear keep itself going? Well, this slide shows us the cycle. It's kind of like a hamster wheel, right? We feel fear, so our first instinct is to try to avoid it. But the more we try to avoid it, the more our minds start scanning the future for what could possibly go wrong, which, you guessed it, just creates more fear. It's this self-perpetuating loop that can be really, really hard to break.
So, if fear is just one big feedback loop, how in the world do we get off the hamster wheel? If fighting it only makes it stronger, what's the alternative? Well, Hawkins offers a path that's both radical and incredibly simple. And this slide just brilliantly highlights the difference. Over on the left, you've got our usual strategies. We try to push through fear with willpower, or maybe we analyze it to death, or we try to cover it up with positive thinking. But on the right, Hawkins suggests something completely different, just allowance. Instead of fighting it, we allow the fear to be there. We just become present with the raw sensation of it. Okay, so what does this actually look like in real life? It is so simple, it's almost revolutionary. Let's just walk through it. First, you just notice the fear is there. That's it. Second, you stop fighting it. You just let it be. And this last part, step 4, this is absolutely the most important part. You do not attempt to change it. You drop the whole project of trying to make the fear go away. Now, acceptance can be a really tricky word, right? So let's be clear. It doesn't mean you have to like the fear. It doesn't mean you have to agree with the stories the fear is telling you. It's more like accepting that it's raining outside. You don't have to like the rain, but fighting it is pretty pointless. You just acknowledge it's there and you let it be. So, what happens when we stop fighting and we start allowing? This is where the magic really happens. This is where we start to shift from a state of being dominated by fear to a state of empowerment.
This quote gets right to the heart of it. Let me just say it again. As willingness to remain with the fear develops, courage is activated. You see, it's not about forcing ourselves to be brave. It's about the simple, gentle willingness to just stay. And that willingness, that's the key that unlocks the door to a whole new way of being. And that willingness to just stay present is what lets us move up the map of consciousness. This is what activates courage, which calibrates at level 200. And this level, 200, is a major, major turning point in his work. See, below this level, we tend to be in a reactive state, always feeling like a victim of circumstances. But at 200 or above, that's when we start to access our own power and our own agency.
So let's be crystal clear about this. Courage, in this context, isn't about being some kind of superhero.
It's about the quiet courage to just sit with our own discomfort, whether that's anxiety before a big meeting or the sadness of a loss. That simple willingness to just be with what is, without running away, that's the foundation of real strength.
But what about the body in all this? I mean, we all know that fear isn't just in our heads. We feel it in our stomach, in our racing heart, in our tense shoulders. So where does the physical experience of fear fit into this model?
And of course, Hawkins' model absolutely acknowledges this, that knot in your stomach, the tightness in your chest, these are the very real, physical ways that fear shows up in our bodies. They are literally the signature of this powerful state. But here's the key distinction, and it's a big one. We don't fix the body to fix the fear. It's actually the other way around. When we shift our consciousness, when we stop fighting the fear, our bodies naturally follow. It's like the conductor of an orchestra. When the conductor changes the tempo, all the musicians adjust. Consciousness leads, the body follows.
So that feeling of relaxation we get in our bodies, that's a byproduct of letting go. It's not the goal itself. Trying to force your body to relax so that you can get rid of fear is like trying to make a shadow move without moving the object that's casting it. It just doesn't work that way, does it?
So we've gone through a lot of the theory here, but the real power of this work is in the practice. So I want to leave you with a simple invitation to just experiment with these ideas in your own life. This isn't about believing anything. It's about seeing for yourself in your own direct experience.
This is it. This is the whole practice in its purest form. The next time fear comes to visit, just notice it, kind of welcome it in, stop running from it, and then just be with it. It's really that simple and that profound.
This is the real essence of it. Think of fear like a wave in the ocean. It rises, it crests, and then it falls away. It's our resistance, our struggle against the wave that keeps us stuck in the undertow. The practice is to just let the wave move through us, to trust that it will pass on its own.
So, I'll just leave you with this question. And it's not a puzzle to be solved with your mind, but an experiment to be lived. What happens when you stop fighting and you just start allowing? The answer? Well, it can only be found in your own experience. Thanks for joining us for this exploration.